Hello, Data Science Jellyfish fam. So we are back with our first Tableau video for beginners. So I'm so excited to start this series. As you all know, Diane has an amazing series on Git and we're in GitHub and we're constantly adding to that series. Now we're going to go into the visualization space because I personally love data visualizations. I think if you can visualize your data and explain technical things to non technical audiences, that is one of the creme de la creme skills to have in the data science industry. So, very, very excited for us to get started. Now, don't worry if you do not have a license for Tableau. This series is going to utilize a free trial of Tableau that everyone can download. You're going to have 14 days to utilize it. And if it's something that you like, you definitely can look into pricing for Tableau. But we are pretty much going to go from start to finish of some basics of Tableau. The first one being how to download Tableau, create your Tableau site, create a project, upload some data into Tableau so that we can get started in our making visualizations and actually doing analysis in subsequent videos. So today I'm going to take you through how you can sign up for your free Tableau account, how to activate your site, and within your site, how to create a new project along with a new workbook with some data that everyone is going to have access to. So let's get started. So first, I'm on Tableau.com. As you can see, if you go to Tableau.com or just do a quick Google search Tableau into Google, this will pop up and you can do your try Tableau for free. So when you click on try Tableau for free, you can start your free online site. Okay. So I would do start a free trial. And then from there, okay, it is going to ask you, and I already have an account, of course, so it's going to tell me to log in. But when you start a free trial, it's going to ask you if it's a Windows or Mac. Pick the operating system that you're on. It's going to send you a link via email, and all you have to do is verify your information via email instead of password. So once you do, you can log into Tableau online, and that is going to be online.tableau.com. And since I'm already logged in, it's going to take me through my site. And it says I have 13 days left. Okay. So the easy part is going to tableau.com, starting your free 14-day trial, verify that trial via email, check your spam if it went to your spam, and then it's going to direct you to actually log into Tableau online with your free site. It's going to ask you to name your site. The name of your site has to be pretty unique. Okay, so when you get to your site, this is how it looks. It has some dashboard starters for you. So you can start from already pre-built workbooks, which we're not going to do. We're going to build things from scratch. Okay, it's going to allow you to add other users that can help you work on this. So you can add a user, add users by email, and if there's someone who already has a Tableau ID, etc., you can choose whether they're going to be an explorer, a creator, or a viewer. So you're able to do that. You're able to run schedules, and we'll get into this later on when we go through Tableau, but pretty much if there's a data source that automatically gets updated. So some businesses have data that they refresh on a daily cadence or a weekly cadence. So here, if you're using any of that live data into Tableau, you're going to be able to keep refreshing your visualizations and dashboards with the newest data that's out there. Okay. I'm just going to start at home for now. And up here where it says upload workbook, manage projects, users, download the desktop and prep builder, I'm going to click new and I'm going to do projects. So I'm going to save every workbook that we create in one project folder. Okay. So with this project, it says enter a name for the project, and I'm going to call this tutorials. And the description is learning Tableau with the Jellyfish fam. And of course, you can make a new project for every project that you're working on. Okay. So I'm going to create. Okay. And from there, I'm going to be able to actually navigate to that project. Okay. So here, I want to manage projects now. And when I manage projects, and you see how it says top level projects, all workbooks. These top level projects, everything that we're creating now is a top level project underneath Explore. Okay. We have no lower level projects in here. So now I see the project that I just created, tutorials, learning Tableau with the JellyFish fam, the owner, and the day that I created it. So I can hit the 3 check marks, okay? And you see how I can rename this, I can change the owner, and I can give somebody permission to this folder. So if you want separate projects for separate teams, you definitely can allocate permissions. But here I'm gonna just double click on it. And then with new, I'm gonna say new workbook. Okay, so we're gonna create a new workbook. Now, as soon as I say new workbook, it's going to ask me to connect to data. Okay. So there may be data that I've already published on my site that I can grab, but most of you are going to be dealing with files potentially that is on your computer, unless your site is connected to something like Amazon Redshift or another database where you store your tables, store your data. So here, if I hit upload from the computer, I'm just going to upload a sample database or CSV file in this case, so we can all look how that happens. So I'm going to upload this Ames housing CSV and just hit open. And you can upload Excel files, CSV files. You can connect this to a SQL database, etc. Okay. So this is going to take some thinking. Just depends on internet connection, how big the data file is, etc. So while this is thinking, I'm just going to touch some high points on why I personally love Tableau. I think it's very intuitive to use, and you're going to see in a minute. Like, it's a great graphical user interface for those who have made visualizations in R Shiny, or you have made them in Python using Matplotlib or Seaborn. This gives a little bit more flexibility and just nice dynamic visuals, right? Where you can add a lot more of those bells and whistles that then you can do with a regular coding language. So I really, 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 really love Python. Okay, I mean Tableau versus Python when it comes to making my visuals. Okay. And this file is taking a minute to think. Pretty big file, I can imagine. While that is thinking, I'm going to go back to my first tab, and I'm just going to do a new workbook in this tab. And what we're going to be working on, since everybody has access to it, is going to be the Superstore data source. Okay. So you can definitely upload files that you want to work with from your computer. You also can connect to Amazon Redshift, as I've mentioned before. You can also connect to MySQL. And if you were to connect with MySQL, you need that server, username, and password if you were to do that. So you definitely can do all of that. But on this site, I'm just going to use the Superstore data source and connect to that. I'm just going to exit out that third tab for the Ames data set. Okay, y'all, it took the data a little bit of time to load. And then when it loaded, it kept getting these weird crashing errors because I am on the actual site. So we all know how online can be. So I highly recommend that when you go to home and you log back into Tableau online, you download Tableau desktop, okay? And then we're going to be able to push our work back to that project folder that we just created. So from here on out, I'm going to start utilizing download Tableau desktop instead of actually building the workbooks inside Tableau itself. Okay. So that is a good thing to know. If you're having that issue, feel free to follow along within Tableau online, or you can download Tableau desktop. You should be able to follow along um, in both ways. Okay. So when I bring up Tableau, I'm going to go down here where it says Save Data Sources and click Sample Superstore, because that was the one that we were going to use. And see how quickly it just uploads everything for me, unlike what we were seeing in Tableau online. So that is great. When I click this data source down here, okay, I'm able to see a lot about the data source before I even do the sheet. It looks like there's an orders table. It looks like there's a people's table, a return table. Okay. And so these, right, are being utilized in our data source. When we view down here, we see all of our column types. So I highly recommend that you just take a look at your columns, make sure everything is as you expected when you're actually utilizing real data. But when we go to sheet 1, we can right click on this and hit rename. And I'm just going to call this first exploration, because this is the first time we're exploring our data. Okay. And you see, as soon as you rename the sheet, it gets renamed right here as well. So things that we want to look at. Okay. So we have dimensions, which is going to be in our blue. So those are going to be our categorical groups. They're normally dates, other things. And you see that we have all of our tables listed. So I can collapse orders, I can collapse people, I can collapse returns, and I can expand all of those to see all of the dimensions in blue and the corresponding measures in green. Okay. So the people table only has one thing, which is the regional manager. It has a people count dimension. All of them are going to have this built in by default count measure. Okay, so it's a generated field that counts the number of records. Same thing with returns. I'm just going to have returns, and then I also have measure names with profit ratio, which is a calculated field here because it has the equal sign to it. And we're going to get to that in a later lesson, as well as latitude and longitude. If I don't know, say for instance, these tables were astronomically big, I can search for a measure here. So I can search for date, for instance, and it's going to bring up everything that has date in it. And I see that my date is in my orders table. So you also can search right there. But these are pretty small tables, so I'm going to be able to collapse them all. I have some parameters, which we're going to talk about in another video as well. And then I have some right click where I can create a parameter, I can create a calculated field, etc. This data pane, there's also an analytics pane that we're going to talk about too. And your analytics pane is going to allow you to get things like a confidence interval, a forecast, a trend line, box plot, some reference lines, things of that nature. But I'm going to keep it on the data tab for now. We have our pages, filters, and marks panels. So our marks panels is going to allow us to change things like colors of our marks, our sizes, our text, add details, add tooltips. Filters is going to allow us to filter by a dimension or measure. Okay. And I also have my columns are going to be up here, and I'm going to be able to drag dimensions that I want to my columns and my rows. And if I wanted to add a data source, I can do that here. So a lot going on in this interface, okay? But the main thing that you're going to be working with is either data, or you're going to do some analytics on that data as well. You're going to be looking at some data sources, things of that nature. So since this is our first exploration, let's drag a dimension into our view. Okay. So I want to do, let's say if I expand product, because product is a hierarchy, that's why it has that symbol there. I'm going to do category. And then I'm going to do profits. Okay. Now, this is not exactly what I have expected. You see how the sum of profit went right underneath category? Okay. I can drag that to rows and I can create a nice little bar plot here. Okay. So now what I have is my levels of supplies, which is furniture, office supplies, and technology. And I have the sum of their profits. Okay. So I can change this from standard view to entire view if I want to. And that's going to expand my actual graph. I can also do something where I can switch the columns and the rows, right? So I can have a vertical bar chart, or I can click this button up here and have a horizontal one. I also can, for instance, add data labels. So if I click labels and I click show mark labels, it's actually going to put the profit as labels, and I can change the font. I can change how it's aligned, et cetera here. So I can just go into the marks column and add those labels there. I definitely can change the color of the bars. Okay, so I can do orange, green, things of that nature. Notice when I hover over a bar, it's going to have a tooltip. So this tooltip tells me category and profit. Say, for instance, if I go into my tooltip, I can actually click that under the marks and I could do sum of profit to add a little bit more dimension. Say, for instance, I wanted these a little bit bigger and I wanted profit. Let's say in this case, they're all positive profits. So I wanted to put this in like a green color. And I would say, okay. So now when I hover over the bar, I have my category and my actual sum of profit. It looks like profit itself isn't in currency. So I can go over to my data pane and I like to change this on the actual measure itself. Measures are green versus changing it up here. So that way, if I were to reuse this measure in another sheet, the formatting carries over. So I'm going to take this drop down here and I am going to do change data type. And we also have a default properties. Let's go to default properties, number format, and I'm able to change it to currency custom. I don't want any decimal places, and I'm going to hit OK. And here, now I actually have my profits having that little $ in the comma. So that looks pretty nice here. Instead of doing sum of profit, okay, I can also change this. Click on this down arrow, measure sum, and I can get an average profit, okay, for each row. So for each piece of furniture, it seems like the average profit is $9.2079 for technology. But I'm going to keep this as sum, so you can change that as well. I can double click on pretty much anything and get some information. Okay. So general, I can change, if I double click on this axis, I can change this to sum of profits. Okay. I can double click on the title and say, for instance, I want it to be the sheet name. Okay. And I can change this to 24 fonts if I really wanted it to stick out. This category, since I have category down here, I can right click this and hit hide field labels. And there we have it. We have a nice interactive visual that if we hover over it, it's going to be able to tell us the sum of profit that's within our data set within a particular category. And we can re-click that there. Okay. So the main thing that we were able to do in this tutorial was to download Tableau online, sign up for Tableau online and download Tableau for desktop. We're looking at our sample superstore data set. We know that dimensions are blue and that measures are green. We were able to see how we can search for certain fields with the search tool here, able to look at some functionality when we drag certain things to columns and rows, look at how we can swap column and rows, in this case for a vertical or a horizontal bar chart. We also learned how we can fit our actual visuals with the standard view or fit with or the entire view. And there's just a lot of cool things that we got. So you have made your first visual in Tableau. So stay tuned for our next tutorial that's going to dive a little bit deeper in how we create visuals into Tableau. Thank you so much for tuning in to Data Science Jellyfish. Please like, comment, and subscribe.